All-Star Weekend is upon us, and just in a few minutes, we're going to have the All-Star of All-Stars coming off a first All-Star appearance, like first All-Star of the week, and then you got the fact that he's going to his second All-Star game, and he's of course beating out Leon Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid for the points lead in the NHL right now. Jonathan Huberdeau is going to join us in a few minutes. Allan, I know you've worked with him for a long, long time. He's been in Florida for a decade now, which is crazy to think.
Yep.
You must be so immensely proud.
Well, I am. And, we started working together when he was 16 years of age. And I was there when he won the Memorial Cup and was named MVP. And I was there when he played his first NHL game. Being a part of, his journey with him and his incredible extended family, who are also incredibly close with each other, has been such a privilege, one of the great privileges of my life. Mm-hmm. And we're all off to Vegas tomorrow for another All-Star experience where we're all going to endeavor to try to behave ourselves. So
good luck.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey so far, and he's still young. He's having an incredible season, and he's a viable candidate for the Hart for NHL MVP. He's the NHL leader in points, as you mentioned, and we still got almost half a season to go.
It's pretty cool. It's very, very cool. Allan, there's a couple things we want to talk about first, though. I think the first one is a trend that you're seeing around the league, and when I say you, I mean everybody. The trend is having players step in and I guess form advisory committees on who's going to be the next general manager of their team. So in Anaheim right now, in case if you're listening to this and you're unaware, you've got Paul Kariya and you've got Scott Niedermayer, both great leaders of the Ducks organization from the past, right, stepping in. And then in Chicago, it's I believe, and I've got Hossa, Patrick Sharp, and Eddie Olczyk. And I'm curious about how this strikes you, Allan, because, I mean, in 25 years, you've seen a lot of changes in the game. I don't know if we've ever quite seen this.
Not really. In Montreal, you would see someone of the stature of a Bob Gainey with years and years experience, or Sir Savard, a legend as a hockey player, a Hall of Famer, and longtime general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, being brought in to consult on a GM search as part of a committee. But it strikes me that right now we have two open GM jobs, and both teams, with all due respect to these incredible players, Hall of Famers, they've never worked in an NHL front office. They've never handled trade deadline. They've never handled free agency. They've never been responsible for managing a scouting staff, processing analytics, how to use analytics properly, making personnel decisions, evaluating talent at every level, pro talent across the American Hockey League, East Coast League, amateur talent, both in North America and Europe. And owners seem to be turning to these people for advice on who should be the next GM to sit in that big chair going forward. And yes, great hockey players, legends, Hall of Famers, all of that. But without having any specific experience in what the job entails, what a general manager does, and what qualities are needed for the person to sit in that chair, it does strike me as a little odd and almost counterintuitive to be relying on people to make decisions and render advice on, the candidates for each position are kind of known within the media and have been spoken about already. Unless you've managed caps and handled a team, at least in an assistant GM role where you've been in the front office and having major responsibilities in a front office, how are you the person qualified to make judgments on various candidates vying for that open seat? And that really is what I find. I find it fascinating, and almost I'm sitting here as an agent. I'm not looking to criticize how other people or teams are doing their job. I just find it a little odd.
Okay. Now for the crowd, and it's more numerous, I think, than the NHL would like to admit, that is asking for new blood, specifically new voices, different backgrounds. We finally have female assistant general managers and that those types of roles.
Yep.
Could these advisory committees open ourselves up to? Because the criticism, Allan, is thus far against NHL GMs is it's like there's 40 of them and there's 32 jobs and they play musical chairs. And so I don't know if this is the way to get new blood in, but maybe that kind of segues. The game clearly does from time to time need new voices. I think right now is another time. What's the best way to go about doing that?
Well, I think you need to cast a really wide net and look at a whole host of different people beyond just constantly seeing certain individuals get recycled from one organization to the next. I think there needs to be, we talk a lot about diversity in front offices. I think it's time for a Black person to be named general manager, and I'm a little sad that hasn't happened yet, or a president of a team. There needs to be more effort made to recruit and look at people from different backgrounds, whether they played the game or didn't play the game. I think it's awesome that Vancouver has gone and named a European as a general manager, and a woman as an assistant general manager. Bravo to Jim Rutherford and ownership in Vancouver for doing that. And I think that there are a lot of people working in the analytics field who have a tremendous understanding of the game. I believe in analytics. I don't believe that it's the end all be all, but I believe it's a very useful tool, and that the teams that seem to understand best how to use analytics, that it's not the holy grail, but it does give you great insight into making your decisions. And a combination of analytics with eyeballs and other things as well. Maybe we're going to see viable GM candidates coming out of the analytics field down the road as another avenue open that maybe hasn't been open so far. I mean, just think, 5-6 years ago, no teams had analytics departments, let alone an analytics consultant. Yep. And now every single team in the NHL has multiple people working in a analytics department, and try to get information from a team on how they use analytics, where they get their data from, how they process that data. It's like a state secret. You ever want to see somebody working with the team clam up and not answer a question? Ask them that. All right. I mean, it's interesting how all of that comes into play. But I think doors are being opened. You see little cracks happening, and you see opportunities. You hear about different people interviewing for open positions. And I think we're starting to trend in the right direction.
Another story that came out this week that you were tweeting about, and I think obviously anybody that knows anything about you and follows you on Twitter, Allan, knows that this is something that's really important to you. Former Canadian star Ralph Backstrom, 17-year NHL career, over 600 points, and another 280, I believe, in the WHA as well. So pretty prolific career. Yep. He had CTE This is a Montreal Canadiens star who unfortunately sometimes gets forgotten about with some of the names that they had thrown around, but he was a major player on these teams. Yeah. And he had CTE, and it's obviously something that you're very passionate about. The NHL stance on it, though, really bothers you.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Bettman has said repeatedly that the science is not at the point where you can make an association between repetitive blows to the head and CTE. And that's just not true. The NFL, the CDC, the US military, and a whole host of other organizations have acknowledged the link. And the link is not concussions per se. Mm-hmm. And that sometimes gets lost in, there was a movie, Concussion, and there was a book that was very well known by the same name. But it really has to do with subconcussive blows to the head, repetitive subconcussive blows. In any typical NHL game, in any typical NHL season, players are being jolted, players are being body checked, and their brains are banging against the inside of their skull when that happens, not rising to the level of a concussion. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we look at players and we say, well, he had 12 concussions in his career. That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
15 concussions in their career. That's a lot. But really what the science is lending itself to right now is that it's not necessarily how many concussions you've had, but how many blows to the head, how many jolts and jarring motions against boards and with other players, repetitive, subconcussive. And if you start adding that up over a player's career, we get thousands of impacts, thousands. So where is the science today that Gary denies? 315 plus former NFL players have been found to have CTE, and 13 out of 14 NHL players have been found to have CTE. So in the NHL, we're at about 98%. How do we find CTE in a situation? All of these people have donated their brains to organizations like the Concussion Legacy Foundation at Boston University. On the medical side, one of the foremost CTE experts in the world is Dr. Ann McKee. And they receive a brain and they dissect a brain of somebody who's passed away, obviously. And they're able now to determine between 4 levels of severity how much CTE exists in the brain. And Ralph Backstrom was type 3, which is severe. So he had a severe case of CTE. We are not at the point yet medically where there is a diagnostic test for anybody to determine whether they have CTE existing in their brain right now. But we are getting to the point, maybe within the next 5 years, where there will be such a diagnostic test. And that's the whole purpose of the research. The research has several goals to it. Number one, determine who has CTE and what the cause of it is, right? Mm-hmm. And then be able to develop a diagnostic tool to let us know how we can determine who has CTE in the living, mm-hmm. and then ultimately come up with prevention and treatment for CTE for people who are living. So it's that whole process. The first part of that process is for Gary Bettman, and it rests with him to acknowledge that there absolutely is an association between these repetitive blows to the head and CTE. What is CTE? Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is a degenerative brain disease, very similar to Alzheimer's, where people suffering from it have memory issues, anger, depression. Ultimately, slowly over time, these people lose their minds. Their brains are degenerating to nothing. And it's a horrible fate that awaits many players who played the game from the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And right now, the NHL is not participating in any research. So Gary Bettman is saying, we need more research. There's no medical certainty out there right now, which is a euphemism he uses. There's no medical certainty that there's an association between hockey and CTE. That would be ignoring the 13 out of 14 cases that exist right now and ignoring the 315 cases of CTE found in the NFL. We'd be ignoring the NFL clearly stating the association between blows to the head, playing football, and CTE. The U.S. military, according to Gary Bettman, is wrong. The CDC is wrong, but he's right. Oh, and only him, because literally he's the last man standing on this absurd position that he's chosen to stick with in the face of all the new studies and all the mounting evidence scientifically, medically that exists out there. And it's something that is very near and dear to me. Mm-hmm. You know, Gary Bettman says that the NHL is a quote unquote open book, and that it's an NHL family, and the family and all the implications of being part of the NHL family. Well, more and more we are hearing stories over the years of players who had long careers. Ralph Backstrom was not an enforcer. He was not a fighter. He was a skilled hockey player, which makes this finding so unique. And I think it's critical for people to understand what CTE is, where it comes from, how you can acquire it, and then commit to research. More NHL players committing now to donating their brains when they move on, when they pass on, so that there can be more studies and more research, all geared towards one thing: prevention and treatment. And the beginning of all that begins with Gary Bettman admitting what we all know to be true, what Chris Nowinski, the founder and head of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, says is an absurd position to take. So it's time. The time is now. The time was really several years ago. Mm-hmm. Ken Dryden wrote his incredible book, Game Change, about the life and times of Steve Monador. And Ken Dryden said at the time, I wrote this book for an audience of one. He wrote the book specifically to Gary Bettman. He was talking to one person, his audience of one. And he met with Gary. He presented Gary with the book, and hasn't heard from him since. Oh. So this is something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be spoken about, and I'm happy to have an audience and a forum to be able to do that right now.
Is your hope that the NHL eventually not only admits the link, but donates money to research? Is that the ultimate goal here?
Well,
or the hope?
100%. And I would add something to that. And that is doing right by the players who played the game that were never told or advised at the time that they played that there was something like CTE that could impact their entire life off the ice in retirement. And let's also create a process programs money to pay their medical expenses, people who are suffering from symptoms that resemble CTE, work with them off the ice, be there for them. You want to talk about being part of the NHL family? That's where it starts, right there.
And with that, Allan, we're going to bring on Jonathan Huberdeau.
Welcome to another episode of Agent Provocateur. I'm Allan Walsh with Adam Wylde. We're here today with our special guest, hailing from Saint Jerome, Quebec, a Quebec League champion, Memorial Cup champion, the MVP of the Memorial Cup, the third overall pick of the 2011 NHL draft, the winner of the Calder Trophy, NHL Rookie of the Year in 2013, NHL All-Rookie Team, a two-time NHL All-Star after this weekend, currently leading the NHL in points. Let's welcome to the podcast, Jonathan Huberdeau.
Thank you, guys.
And
should have had a Huby-Dooby-Doo.
Yeah. And with the world's nicest backyard in the background, we have to say that Florida sunshine looks awfully nice today.
It's nice. Yeah, I'm going to get some sun. I'm probably going to be sunburned after.
Okay. So
now, Joe, and I've always called you Joe pretty much since I met you, and most of your family and close friends do. Why don't we talk a little bit about your experience playing minor hockey in Saint Jerome?
Just brings back a lot of good memories there. I mean, I think, I'm from not a biggest city, I feel, like Quebec, and it's just like a small city. I feel everybody kind of known each other back there. I had the chance to go to school. My hometown, played hockey while going to school. And every time I go back there, I feel it's just like, just had some good times. And I didn't really play like the highest level that I would play with other cities. So I played for my hometown my whole my childhood. And, like I said, it's just like, I like to give back to my community here in Saint Jerome. I go back there in the summer and kind of have the chance to enjoy it with my friends. And I still got like friends that I played like when I was younger, and I still, keep touch with them, which is fun.
Now, you left home at around 16 years of age to go play junior hockey in the Quebec League with St. John. What was that like leaving St. Jerome? And it's a story of many young hockey players leaving home at that age, going to play junior hockey, living with billets. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it wasn't easy, I would say, because obviously, I mean, you can tell with my accent, I didn't really know English at that time when I was 16. So I actually didn't know. I knew a couple of words because in Quebec we learn English, but not that much. So it was definitely a challenge to go there and having a billet. But I think this is the best thing that happened to me, to have the chance to obviously learn the language and, living with a family that only spoke English. And obviously, like the team, we had a really good team. So it was just easy to go play hockey every day. And kind of, the guys there were really nice and kind of welcome you and help me throughout the years. And that's how I kind of learned how to be more responsible to when you leave home. And it was just a great time in a great city.
Now, you're one of the very few people that I know that had an opportunity to be coached by the same people in junior hockey as when you were a young player in the NHL. So in St. John, when you guys won the Quebec League Championship and the Memorial Cup, you were coached by Gerard Gallant and assistant coach Mike Kelly. And here you are playing with the Florida Panthers a few years later, and they're coaching you in Florida. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was actually it was a great timing for me because, as you know, my second year wasn't my best year, and obviously I had a good first year. Second year slump, I guess, and kind of the third year, that's when Gerard came in, and kind of obviously I was really happy because we had a great success in junior, and he knew what I was capable of. And I think he just gave me the chance, in the NHL. And I kind of, obviously that year too, it took me like 24 games, I think, to score my first goal. And I was like, oh, am I going to be good enough? am I going to be good? Like, you have a good first year, and after you're like, am I a good player? So a lot of questions come to mind, but I think he's just helped me, him and Mike, obviously great coaches, great person. When they don't coach me, they're great friends. And obviously they beat us. They just beat us the other night. So I don't like them anymore.
Jonathan, when you're that young and you come in and you're the rookie of the year, right? You get a trophy right away, and then you follow it up and you have a tough season. What for any future NHL rookie that hears this and goes through the same thing, what do you tell yourself? How do you grind your way through that? Do you remember the moment where you're like, okay, I got my confidence back?
Yeah, I mean, I think that year, like I said, it took me like 24 years, that third year, 24 games to score my first goal, but I still finished with, I think, 20 that year. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's all about confidence, and it's a lot of mental, I think, in hockey. And we have a chance to have psychologists, sports psychologists in our team. And obviously I think it's not a bad thing to use them and kind of give you some tips. And I think that third year, that guy, Derek Anderson, his name is, and really helped me. And I think that's what it is. I feel like, I don't want to put excuses, but after my first year, obviously I had a hip surgery. So that didn't help too, coming back. I think second year, I kind of still felt it. The hip, I wasn't at my 100%, I would say. And, but after that kind of came back, and then the confidence when it comes. I mean, I know I can be a really good player when the confidence is there.
Yeah. Now you have a long history with Fort Lauderdale. I was sitting with your dad very early on in your draft year, and he was telling me about your Christmas break vacations in Fort Lauderdale. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, that's kind of a crazy story. I feel like, I don't know, I've been here for 10 years playing in Florida. And let's go back. Since I'm a baby, my parents used to, my dad sells cars. So we used to buy an RV every Christmas or November around, and he would pick us up from school. And then we would drive to Fort Lauderdale so it would take, 24 hours. And my dad, his goal was, he was driving. We'd leave at 4:00 that day. And then the next night at 10:30, he would have to get to Daytona Beach. Guess where, Allan? At Hooters.
At Hooters. Yeah.
And he needed his beer, his Bud Light, and 50 hot wings. That was his goal, 50. And that's when he made it. I mean, we were helping, obviously.
Oh, okay, all right.
Young, but that's when I was a little older. I was able to go there, enjoy the scenery, and obviously, so that was it. And we spent 3 weeks. The thing we would do, I'm now thinking about it, I'm we used to shower on the beach. At 6 o'clock, bring shampoo, shower on the beach, because the RV, there's we wouldn't stay at a campground or anything. We'd sleep in Walmart and stuff like that. And so there wasn't a lot of water. So only the girls could shower in the RV. That was the rule. And then we'd just shower on the beach. Sometimes it would be really cold. We'd bike there, come back. And that was kind of crazy experience. I mean, I have so many stories. We use that night to go rollerblading. Even now we go play pickleball, and there's the hockey rink, and I used to rollerblade there since I was a kid. And all these memories kind of crazy, because now I play here. I got drafted here. I mean, how many teams you can get drafted to? And it happened to be Florida. And, now I have a house here. It's much better than an RV, I guess, living here.
and you don't have to shower on the beach anymore.
No, which is good. But that's what I'm thinking. I go to the beach. I'm if I would see someone bring shampoo and shower, I would think they're crazy.
Yeah. But what's really interesting is that you guys, your whole family used to play hockey outside in Fort Lauderdale as you were a kid growing up.
Yeah, I mean, this is like we would like be like 5 or 6 RVs, so like we're a lot of people the same age, and obviously my brother plays hockey, so everybody would play. I think obviously me and my brother was kind of the best like player out there, and we're just having fun though. Every night it was just like a blast, and everybody was just like enjoying himself, and that was kind of memories. Like I would go back to this time and any day. That was just like so fun. And every day would go to a beach or do something. And my dad would drive the RV somewhere, go park, and then we'd just enjoy the day. And it was kind of never got sick of it. And obviously, December 29th, you would go see Montreal against Florida. And then obviously, I would cheer for Montreal. We'd do like boards and stuff like that we had, and trying to be on TV. And now it's funny because like now when we play Montreal, like now obviously the people around me they have to cheer for us, but that's like I get like 100 tickets a year every time we play them, and it's like it's just a special night with my sister singing the national anthem too every time, so it's pretty fun.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a moment, Joe, that I will never forget, and it's always ingrained in my memory. And that is the night before your first NHL game. So I came to Fort Lauderdale, and we all went out for a huge dinner. You had all your family there. You had uncles and brother and sister, and there were probably 15 to 20 people out there for dinner. And after dinner, your parents had brought the camper down, had an RV at a campsite. And we all went back there and we sat around on chairs and we just talked and laughed and told stories. And, it gets to around 10 p.m. and everyone's saying goodbye, and you're going to go back to the hotel because you were staying at the hotel at the time, the night before your first NHL game. And you were standing with your father, and your father gave you a hug, and he had tears in his eyes, and he was looking at his son, and he had such pride on his face, the look on his face, and he was saying goodbye to you. And the next time he would see you would be you on the ice playing your first NHL game. It was an incredible moment. I felt privileged to be there to see that, but it was a very emotional, touching moment where, you go through your day-to-day life, and these very important moments sometimes can get lost. And it was a moment where I stood there and watched the two of you together, and I felt the love and the pride that existed between you and your whole family, but also with your dad. And it was a real incredible moment.
I think you're so right. I mean, you're trying to get me emotional, right?
Yeah.
Trying to hold it in myself, but no, it's like obviously it's these moments are just precious, I feel, and it's like, and you've been around my family. Like I'm lucky to have a close family, and we all love each other and we'll do anything for each other. And I've been lucky to have the support, from all my family, my brother, sister, everybody. And I think, obviously I'm lucky for that. It's not everyone that had the chance to have that, but it's, I just appreciate every moment. And I know we all love each other. And these moments is just something that you kind of never forget.
I want to ask you guys this. I want to ask Allan, I want to know how you got to know Jonathan Huberdeau. When were you first introduced? Do you remember that story? And then Jonathan, I'm going to ask you a question to follow this up. So Allan, your first encounter with Jonathan Huberdeau.
I think it was at a Houston's in Chamonix-Laval, which is the town where I was born and raised in Montreal, near Carrefour Laval. There's a Houston's there, and Joe had just played his first year in the Quebec League, and we had a meeting with Norm Conway, who I've spoken about before on the podcast, who has been working real closely with us for 24, 25 years, an incredible human being, and great scout, and great hockey eye, and just a wonderful person. And it was with Joe and his father and Norm and me, and we met at the Houstons for lunch sometime in June after your first season in the Quebec League in St. John.
And Jonathan, what do you remember about your first encounter with Allan Walsh?
Yeah, I was like, oh boy, I'm gonna have to deal with him for a lot of years.
When we talked to Marc-Andre Fleury, he said, "Boy, this guy's French sucks." How do you rate Allan's French?
It sucks. No, but you wouldn't tell he's from Montreal. But Allan just obviously every time we're together, it's just a good time. Obviously, when we met the first time, I didn't really know Allan, and I knew Norm a little bit more because we've talked more, and obviously it was before I get when you start getting drafted, that's where you jump and start going with Allan. He's taking care of you, and I think it's just like since that day, I mean, I've been taken care of. Like Allan is treats his clients first is, I think we're at the end of the day we're friends too, and it's like family, and that's what it's all about. And I think you just knew from the first day he cares about his player, and he'll do anything to help them, and that's why Allan's such a great agent and a great friend.
Now you're trying to get me emotional.
Yeah.
You got me.
It's fun to hear you guys sort of talk about that, because it's a formative age when an agent meets a player, right? It's the player's at a formative age, and the agent sort of shepherds you through. Allan and Jonathan, is there anything from draft day that sticks out to the two of you? Because Allan, I think anytime you've got a client go through that, it's pretty special.
Oh, sure. And that year, as an agency, we represented the players drafted number 1, number 2, and number 3 overall: Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Gabriel Landeskog, and Joe. And it was pretty much understood several days before the draft that Edmonton was taking Nuge, Colorado was taking Gabriel, and Florida was taking Joe. So there wasn't a lot of mystery going into the draft as to where the top 3 guys were going. But we spent, 3-4 days together. The draft that year was in Minneapolis, and we spent a bunch of days together there. Joe was going on interviews and doing press conferences, and they had NHL events for the top ranked players in the draft. And what I remember most was the night of the draft, after the draft, where we all went out with Joe's family. And it was the first real time. There was one other time we went out after or around the Memorial Cup. But this was like, wow, this is an incredible family. It's a big family. They're very close with each other, all of them. And it was a lot of fun. And over the years, whether it's in Florida, for example, the first NHL game, or, previous All-Star games, or just getting together in the summer, it's that family connection that Joe always has. And they've been so kind to let me into that and to be part of it, and to be able to sit around at night and drink some wine and tell some stories is always very special.
That's cool. That's really, really cool. So I guess, Jonathan, I think, this is a pretty special week to get you on, because you're going to the All-Star game. You're the NHL's first star of the week, and you are the leading scorer in the National Hockey League. And you're on a team that is battling out with a state rival for top spot, not only in your division, but in the NHL. Can you talk about what this season has been like for you? Because after some up and down years, this must feel pretty surreal.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just fun. I think Allan knows me. I mean, I love having fun. I'm kind of a laid back guy like that, kind of go to the rink and have fun and try to get the guys like kind of loosen up. And, you know, I'm kind of that type of guy. And just before the game, you know, I kind of fool around and kind of trying to get the guys to kind of relax a little bit. And this year, I mean, the team, the team that we have, and like all the person in the team, like we all love each other. And it's like, you know, you could tell like in the room, like off the ice and on the ice, and you can just know that we're going to battle for each other. And last year was it was the same thing too. Like we had a good team, but this year I feel it's just like you said, kind of surreal. Like it's just so fun to go. Obviously, when you win, it makes it much easier. But it's just nice. Obviously, like we're 47 games in, but like the most fun is coming up, and you know we're not gonna be able to say it's a great year if we don't win a playoff round. So I think, you know, for me, I haven't won one, and then after that, I feel it's gonna be like something that let's go. Like you never know. Let's just win one. I think we need that as the guys that are in Florida, like been there for a while, like me, Barkey, Ekblad, and all these guys. I think we just need that for confidence. And after, why not go win the cup? And you know that's what we're here, and I think that's our chance. Like this year, we have the right group, and I think just love the guys in the dressing room.
That's awesome.
Now this year, Joe, there's been a coaching change fairly early in the season. With Q resigning and Bruno taking over. What was that like to go through that transition earlier in the season for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think if I remember, we were like 7-0 or 8-0 or something.
Yep.
Still undefeated. Like that happened. Obviously, it's something you can't control, and you know, it's stuff that happened in life. But I think like that's why it shows like your character in a room and the guys that are there, because you know we didn't say like, oh, that like is gonna affect us or like it's gonna change something. I think Bruno is a really good person, really good coach, and I think, you know, for him, he got put in that position that didn't really like, he didn't know it was gonna happen, and I think he took it like the right way, and he, you know, he's a guy that can speak and a great speaker. And he's good to get us going. And I think the guy in the room, we just said, you know, it's all about us. It's about us doing the job on the ice. And I think, you know, we were relentless, and that's the type of people we are. And I think that just showed because we kept winning, you know, after that. And obviously we knew we were going to lose one at some point. But it was just like obviously it wasn't an easy time, I would say, like, you know, when we heard the news and everything. But I think we stick together, and you know we did the job.
Now I want to take you back to your first year in the NHL, playing with Florida. You know, we talked a little bit about your family. A lot of people wouldn't know this, but your first year in the NHL, your brother Sebastian, a couple of years older than you, came to Florida and lived with you that whole first year. Tell us how that happened and what that was like.
Yeah, actually, my brother like just finished school the summer like before, so he was like, and it was a reason for him to learn English. He said, so I was like, hey, you know what? I'm by myself. You know, obviously, I think it was my second year actually.
Yeah, because your first year was a lockout year.
Yeah. So it was my second year.
Second year.
I guess it didn't go that well because that's why he never came back after.
We were looking to change it up.
Yeah. No, but seriously, it kind of brought us like even closer. I mean, me and my brother were like 3 years apart, but we're really close. But obviously, for him to come and kind of like, obviously, he's a great hockey player, and he would have loved to play in the NHL, and that was his dream. but he was never jealous about it and kind of always supported me into that. And still now he's just a great brother. And he just like decided obviously to come to Florida. And I was like, I live in my first year in a condo. I was like, yeah, why not come? And you're going to be able to help me. So he called himself, like, he still does. He called himself my bitch, if I can say that
word. Okay.
And he's 3 years older than me. And when I was young, he would take advantage of me. So now I'm like, I'm going to take advantage of you. So every morning I would wake up. He would go and make my bed. He was actually a great bitch. And he was just a guy. I mean, obviously he's such a nice person, and he would like fill the fridge up, like wash my cars, like do all the things that kind of didn't want to do, and go grocery shopping. I mean, he was there, and I was paying him every month, so it was kind of like his job, and it was kind of fun because every time I would be done practice, I'll be like, hey, you want to add someone to hang out and be like able to, let's say I wanted to go play golf, he was there. It was all fun. So I think, go to dinner, he was always there. So it was kind of, he felt like, that's what we're saying, he was playing in the NHL without practicing and without playing. Same lifestyle.
And without the same paycheck.
Yeah.
A little different paycheck, but I was still giving him good money. So he was happy. And everything was good. So he stayed that year. Obviously, when he went back, he had to, I think he tried to play hockey in France for the next year, and after he started working.
Wow. So where is he now? Like, where is he back in Canada, or is he down near you?
I know he's back in Canada. He has a kid now, so he's there. But now we're talking. All my family is here, so because we're going to Vegas to the All-Star game, so I think there's some people in the pool right now enjoying a nice Corona. And my brother, they just they got here today, so it's gonna enjoy a moment with them. But yeah, all my family is back home. But obviously they come for Christmas. They still come. I can live at my house, and we enjoy some nice family time in Florida.
Amazing.
Any iguanas back there?
Oh yeah, there's so many iguanas here in my backyard because there used to be no iguanas, and now they cleaned that lot like right beside me. They started building a house. And now they all came to my house, and it's like a running gag. And like on Instagram, like my brother always posts something, and my dad like always runs after them, like to scare them away. But I'm like, Dad, there's no point. They're gonna come back. Like it doesn't matter if we scare them away. They jump in the water, and still it comes back. So, but my dad thinks he's doing something special. So we'll see.
Yeah. So in reality, Jonathan Huberdeau is the only client that almost drowned me. You want to tell that story?
Yeah, I can tell that story. That's good. That's a funny story. I still remember your face from that, but that's and that was at my cottage house and my parents' cottage back home. And so a weekend, like in the summer, we usually get together for dinner because Allan comes to Montreal like 2-3 weeks. I'm like, hey, Allan, why don't you come to the cottage this weekend to spend a couple of days? And so we're on the boat and we're just having a good time. And we have like kneeboards. Oh, and obviously I don't do kneeboards anymore, but like that time I'm like, hey, Allan, like, let's go me and you on a kneeboard. And it's pretty, for me, it's easy because I used to do that like so I think I'm like, Allan's going to be fine. Like he's going to be able to do that. No problem. So we start doing some, and he's like, it keeps going. And like, whenever you can't get on your knees, it starts like going like this and kind of the wave. And my dad kept going faster, and Allan was like not comfortable on it at all. And he could just stop. And he was yelling like, stop. But we speak French, so we're like, you got to speak French to say stop.
Allez.
And then like, you could see there was like water coming into his face, and it was just like so many things. And I couldn't even see his face. And I'm like, oh boy, this is going. So instead of letting go of how do you call that? Like
the rope. Yeah.
The rope. Yeah. I'm like, I forgot to tell him that. That's probably my fault.
One very important detail they didn't tell me to let go when you fall off.
So he fell up and he kept he didn't let go. So his face in the water, swallowing water, is full in his nose. And then at some point I'm like, hey, Allan, maybe it's the right time to let go. So let go. And then started coughing. And I was like, yeah, you okay? So I let go with him. I'm like, make sure he was all right. And I just obviously we started laughing. And he was like, I'm going back in the boat now.
So that was the end of your kneeboarding career, Allan?
Yeah, well, I'm watching, back then, Joe and his brother and his little sister, and they're all incredible on this thing. They come up on their knees and they can do tricks. And I'm like, oh, this is easy, right? So they get me in the water and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get up on my knees and this is going to be like a cool little ride and everything will be great. Yeah. But I'm listening to them. I'm like, okay, so how do I do this? What do I do? And they're like, okay, when you're in the water, just get your knees up there. Well, how? Because it wasn't working that way for me, but they never said, and when you fall off the board, let go of the rope right away. So I must have drank half the lake on that last one, on that last run. And they're like, and his dad's like, oh, come on, it'll be, just do it one more time. I'm like, gentlemen, ladies, I'm done. Get me out of here.
That was funny. That was so funny.
Amazing. Yeah. So Jonathan, does that mean you water ski as well?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Okay. At one point you did. At some point in your life, you've water skied.
A long time ago.
Long time ago. But yeah, I used to do a lot of obvious sports in the water. We're always at the cottage and kind of doing kneeboard. I don't think is dangerous because it's like that. But surfing, obviously we can the surfing behind a boat. I don't think that's dangerous too. It's you go really slow
gentle.
And it's gentle and it's fun. I think obviously we like at my house with my parents just being on the water and kind of relax. And that's why I live on a lake when I'm back home. I just love it. It's more peaceful and I just like it.
Well, the reason I ask is I hear in Florida, if you want to water ski or kneeboard in fresh water, you have to run the boat down and back on the water because you got to clear the gators out. And I just wondered at some point in your life, have you ever tried that? Because I grew up water skiing and kneeboarding too, but you couldn't pay me to do that.
No, here I feel in Florida, I would be a little scared.
Yeah.
Especially in the intercoastal, coast. I mean, obviously I'm on the water, but I feel like you don't see what's in the water. I feel in Florida, there's so many things on a lake, there's only fish or whatever. And they're all scared of you. So that doesn't mean, but I mean, I feel I would go on the ocean. I feel you see the water, so you would see if there's a shark coming, I guess, but I don't know if I would still trust it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Allan, I'm sorry there isn't video of you just draining the lake.
You know what? I think there might be out there somewhere.
Be a shame if that leaked. Be a real shame.
So Allan, be nice to me, and I won't put the video on.
Yeah. So last year, 2 years ago, because there was no game but 2 years ago at the All-Star game, Joe, that was your first NHL All-Star game. What was that experience like for you?
It was fun. I mean, obviously your first experience is always more special. And I think, you don't know what to expect too, because it's your first time, but I think just everything there. I mean, everybody's happy. Everybody's having fun. And I think you meet some guys around the league too, that you don't have the chance, obviously, just play against each other. And it's mostly the best players. So it's it's really fun. I think I had a blast, and being with my family too. It's always fun. And being with Allan and telling his stories at dinner too. It's always a pleasure to be around. And obviously, I think it's just fun. And obviously, I saw Allan tipsy for the first time. So I'll say tipsy on the podcast.
What's he like tipsy then? Tipsy.
He's good. You just get. He was like quiet early, but then when you get him going, he gets excited, and it was fun. We had a good time. I mean, obviously, usually it's more like when we go to dinner, professional, and we play the next day. So it's kind of like, but then it's like, you can have fun and kind of enjoy yourself. So I think it was just a different, and I think we all enjoyed it and had a lot of laughs.
Yeah, I enjoyed Joe. I introduced Joe and his family to, and I couldn't believe it. Joe living, on the water like that, had never heard of sex on the beach, and we had a few of those that night.
Just a few, though. Just
few.
Just a few.
Nope. Nobody's ever played the All-Star game hungover. Never.
No, it's not a thing. It's not a thing, I guess.
Okay, so I got to ask you this, Allan. Is there anything that you tell your clients going into All-Star Weekend, just to give them the heads up? Like, hey, you might want to, because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of eyeballs. Everybody's brought their families, but it's known as like a fun kind of let some steam off weekend before the serious stuff kicks in. Trade deadline, playoffs, all of that. What's your preparation for a client that's going for the first time?
Well, it's not really that crazy. You have an opportunity to interact with a lot of different people. There's a lot of NHL executives, some team executives, coaches, NHLPA. There's an opportunity to talk a little bit about the business of hockey. There's an opportunity to spend some great quality time with your family. I think what's most exciting for players is players to be around and interact with and play with other, top elite players around the league that they don't ever interact with on a daily basis. So you get to meet them, get to know them a little bit, sometimes talk about different things that they do, rituals, training methods, just have a laugh with them, go out on the ice and see how your game will sort of mesh with theirs in a 3-on-3 atmosphere, have fun with the skills competition. It really, All-Star Weekend is a celebration of hockey. And if you go in with that attitude, I'm coming in and I'm going to be part of this great celebration of hockey, have fun. But also, I think there's an opportunity, if you want it, to learn something about the business side as well. You've got all the national media there. It's a great opportunity. I've seen players who've gone to multiple All-Star games. When invited in subsequent years, you always hear about certain players that may not want to go. I think the players, and I understand if you've gone 6, 7, 8 times, for certain players you might want to use that weekend to do something else. But players that I've worked with who've gone multiple times, if they're fortunate enough to get selected to go again, they're really excited about it. It's a great time. And most players that I know really are honored to be part of that exclusive group and look at the weekend as a fun time, not as a chore that they have to live through.
Mm-hmm. And Jonathan, is there anybody that you've met there, maybe player, executive, member of the media, who you thought, well, especially a player like, oh God, this guy's so tough to play against, and you meet them and you go, damn it, I really like you.
No, yeah, obviously there's so many, like, you play against, like, obviously, especially 3-on-3, it's like, you play against McDavid, these guys, Draisaitl, like, they're such good players, and obviously it's fun to have the chance to play with, Edmund. I think he's such a great defenseman, and obviously we get a little rivalry, so it's kind of fun though to be. And when you're there, you don't think about that. Like, you're just having fun, and you're like, obviously when you play against Tampa, like there are no friends out there, but like when you get there, you get to know them. Everybody is a good person, like off the ice, and obviously you hate some guys on the ice, but mostly after when you meet them, like it's like because you only know some people like on the ice, and you're like, oh, I hate these guys, like But after you meet them, and it's like obviously everybody's a good person, and when you're on the ice, some people are different person as well. So it's like obviously it's a lot of fun and. I had the chance to go my last with like Shea Weber. I mean, always been a fan with him, like, older guys, and obviously his shot is like something else. And just be there and be part of that and kind of meet those guys is just fun.
I can imagine taking passes from Victor Hedman would be fun. That'd be a good time.
Yeah.
Always is.
Yeah. I've got nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
and you've been very generous with your time, and I know you've got your family there with you right now, and you got a lot of stuff to do before you leave tomorrow to Vegas. So I want to thank you for coming on with us and having some laughs and telling some stories. I guess I got one last question to ask you. You're heading to Vegas tomorrow. I'm coming in. Are you going to be experiencing any more sex on the beach?
Is there you probably know the answer, right? I mean, you're going to Vegas and Allan's going to be there. So I guess that's a yes.
That sounds hot, gentlemen.
It was a trick question.
Yeah.
All right.
But thanks for having me, guys. I had a blast. And, anytime you guys need me, I'll be there.
Okay.
Thanks.
Every episode then, Jonathan. Thank you. Take care.
Yeah.
All right.
See you tomorrow.